Imagine waking up one morning to find your country's economic lifeline has been cut. That's exactly what happened in Niger when their vital oil pipeline, the longest in Africa, was mysteriously sabotaged. But was it really mysteriously? What if I told you that this wasn't an isolated incident, but part of a decade-long pattern of economic warfare that has kept entire nations in chains? Before I reveal the shocking truth about who might be behind this sabotage, let me ask you a question. What length would you go if someone was stealing 99.6% of your wealth? In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you evidence that would change everything you thought you knew about modern colonialism. Stay tuned, because what happened next will shock you. To understand what is happening in Niger today, we need to travel back in time. And what you are about to see isn't just history, it's a blueprint for control that is still being used right now. Here's something that will shock you. When African nations tried to break free from France's grip, they didn't just face opposition, they faced destruction. Let me show you a pattern that is too precise to be coincidence. In Guinea in 1958, Sékou Touré creates his own currency. France's response? They flooded the country with counterfeit money. 14 countries in Africa use the franc CFA, and every time any of these countries try to leave the franc CFA, there is a serious consequence. In Togo, 1963, Sylvanus Olympio suggests breaking away from French currency. The result? A French-backed coup ends with his death. In Mali, 1963, Modibo Keïta creates the Malian franc. The outcome? Another French-supported coup removes him from power. Notice anything familiar? Now here is where things get truly fascinating. While independent-minded leaders were removed, look at what happens to France's loyal partners. These aren't just presidents, they are dynasties. The Bongos in Gabon from 1967 to 2023, where he was ousted by a military coup. The Nyasimbis in Togo from 1967 till present. And there is another one that I know that you know, that I'm intentionally leaving out for obvious reasons. At least you still want me to make these videos, right? Okay, there's a reason why he's still in power. But in a minute, I will show you the most shocking part of this system. A financial weapon so strong, it keeps entire nations trapped. Before I reveal that, what is the real reason you think these leaders stayed in power for so long? Now, here is where our story takes a dramatic turn. In what many are calling the Sahel Revolution, something unprecedented happened. Three nations, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, they did what was thought impossible. They stood up to France. But the price, that's what you need to watch carefully. Now think about this. What will make more than 90% of a country's population to support a military takeover? The answer might surprise you. For years, France claimed its military bases were protecting these nations from terrorists. But here's the shocking reality. While French forces were supposedly fighting terrorism, insecurity actually increased, and the numbers tell a devastating story. Now let me show you something that will make your blood boil. France was buying Niger's uranium at 0.8 euros per kilogram. Meanwhile, the international price at the trade markets were 200 euros per kilogram. That is about 99.6% discounts on one of the world's most valuable resources. That's insane. That's not a typo. That's not a mistake. It is 99.6% lower than the market price. But in 2023, everything changed. The people had enough. What happened next sent shockwaves through the entire continent. Before I reveal to you how Niger became the world's fastest growing economy after breaking free, let me ask you, what would you do if you discovered someone has been stealing from you for decades? And Just wait until you see how France responded to losing control. The next part of this story is going to change how you see international politics forever. What happens next defied every prediction, every expert opinion, and every threat made against Niger. When Niger cut ties with France, the experts said Niger was going to collapse. Instead, something extraordinary happened. Niger became the world's fastest growing economy. Google it. Niger is now the world's fastest growing economy after it left the control that its former colonial power was putting it under. If Niger saw rapid economic development that's been the fastest growing economy in the world in such a very short time, we're talking about months. We're not talking about years or decades or centuries. If they could do this in months, then just imagine what was there, what was the arrangements that were with the former regime. Imagine the kind of arrangement that were with the former regime. Were horrible. But Niger didn't just survive, they thrived. They formed new alliances, set their own prices, and finally started receiving fair value for their resources. However, success came at a price. And what happened next revealed how far some powers will go to maintain control. Remember the pipeline I mentioned at the beginning of the video? The one that provides 40% of Niger's GDP? Well, in December 2024, something happened that exposed a conspiracy so brazen it's almost hard to believe. And in a moment, I will show you evidence that connects this sabotage to a shocking alliance that no one saw coming. December 2024, Niger's economic lifeline is suddenly cut. The longest pipeline in Africa, sabotaged. But this wasn't just an attack on infrastructure. This was a message. What happened next exposed a conspiracy that went far beyond a simple act of sabotage. The Nigerian authorities caught some of the perpetrators, and what they revealed, it shattered every assumption about who was really pulling the strings. Before I tell you what they confessed, try to guess who will benefit the most from bringing Niger back to its knees. Now, the captured saboteurs revealed two shocking facts. France and Nigeria knew about the operations. France was planning to install military bases near Niger's border with Nigeria. But here's the most interesting part. The perpetrators were caught with billions of CFA francs. Which other country produces the CFA other than France? And just before the attack on the pipeline, something very interesting was happening. The Nigerian president was making frequent visits to Europe, to France in particular, to Paris to be precise. There was a new air of romance between Macron and Tinubu of Nigeria. The French army even sang in pidgin language and spoke the dialect of the Nigerian president. Ask yourself, what kind of deal would make an African president turn against its brother? By saying this, I want to shout out to the African people and Nigerians in particular. When ECOWAS threatened Niger of war, many Nigerians came out and said they don't want to go to war with their brothers. But sometimes we just have to sit and think about our leaders. If it was left just for the ECOWAS body to decide on whether to attack Niger, we would have been war as we speak. But many Nigerians came out, made videos, made podcasts, walked on streets and said they didn't want war with their brothers in the north, the Nigerians. And that's the spirit we need to copy. That's the spirit we need to adopt in Africa. The real bombshell is what happened in ECOWAS. When Niger accused Nigeria of collusion, ECOWAS called it unfounded. But who chairs the ECOWAS? The same Nigerian president who has been receiving red carpet treatment in Paris. Before I reveal to you the historical pattern that proves this is no coincidence, what do you think is really behind the new French-Nigerian romance? In a moment, I will reveal evidence that suggests this pipeline attack might just be the beginning. Let's connect all these dots and really see what's happening here. Because once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. Here's what makes this situation so significant. This is not just one pipeline, one country, or one moment in time. It's about a system that has been perfected over decades. Look at the playbook: resource control, currency manipulation, military presence, regional division, and economic sabotage. Does this pattern look familiar? It should, because we have seen it in Guinea, in Mali, and in Togo. But here is what is different this time. The Sahel nations aren't just surviving, they are thriving. And that's what makes them so dangerous to the old system. Now think about this. If they prove that African nations can prosper without colonial oversight, what happens to France's influence over its former colonies? Ask yourself, why would any nation continue selling uranium for 0.8 euros? Meanwhile, they can sell for 200 euros. This is why the stakes are high. This isn't about Niger anymore. This is about the future of African economic independence. I'm going to show you what this means for the future of Africa and the global power dynamics. What we are witnessing isn't just a pipeline war. It's a battle for Africa's future. And here's why this matters to everyone watching. The success or failure of Niger's independence will set a precedent that could reshape global power dynamics for generations to come. So ask yourself, how different will Africa be today if Sekou Touré, Sylvanus Olympio, and Modibo Keïta had succeeded? The real question isn't whether African nations can succeed without colonial oversight. The real question is, who is next? Who is next? So here is what you can do to stay informed and understand these patterns. When you hear about instability in Africa, ask yourself, who benefits? Look for economic motives behind political moves. Follow the money, especially the CFA franc. Watch for signs, sudden military-based proposals, unexpected diplomatic alignments, economic sabotage disguised as accidents. Because here's the truth, this story isn't over yet. What's happening in Niger is just the beginning. Whenever you think about instability in Africa, remember this video, remember this pattern, remember the pipeline. History will remember this moment. The only question is, which side of history would you be on? If you find this analysis valuable, like the video and share with 3 people you like. And don't forget to join our strategic community. And most importantly, leave a comment in the section below, because your comments help shape the quality of these analyses. My name is Azongwe Luis, and this is the Strategic Lens, where you see beyond the headlines. If you found this video valuable, hit subscribe and the notification bell. See you in my next video. Bye.